Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. Thank you for joining me. 3 nasty ears in this compilation today, and really interesting the cause of this one. Now, you're looking at this and thinking, what is that? You might be thinking it's a hearing aid dome. It's not. And funny story behind this was a chap who 5 weeks ago said he noticed his hearing went relatively suddenly, and so he went to see his doctor, and his doctor said, "Oh, you've got some hardened earwax in there." Now, as you can probably tell, this is not hardened earwax. It's a foreign body, and what it is, there's quite a lot of warmth and humidity here, and that's why it's often a bit difficult to get a decent view. It's actually the end of an earbud that he uses to listen to music in, because he was a truck driver, and he wore them while he was driving his truck. And have a look at when you pull this through. Nasty stuff. Now, there's obviously a hole in the middle of that, and what's happened is that is full of pus. And I'm not going to lie, as soon as I turned that round, the odour, the smell, it was horrible. It was really, really putrid. And this is quite rare that this happens. That a lot of people ask in the comments, what does earwax smell like? It doesn't really smell at all most of the time. Or maybe I'm a bit immune to it, but very rarely it has much of an odour. And most infections don't generally smell too bad. But this one was something else. It really got up your nostrils, unfortunately. And just look at that. Just look at that pus pouring out of there. Nasty, horrible stuff. If it looks like I'm taking my time, I have slowed this down just so you can get a good view of it. I have got some images of it afterwards as well. But you can just see that yellow discharge, that pus. It's nasty stuff. And there it is, out of the ear. So I think I grabbed that with a pair of forceps to lift it up to get it out. Now, as to what kind of infection it is, it's really difficult to say. Obviously, without swabbing, there's lots of different types of infections, you know. Some fungal, some bacterial, and it's without a swab, it's really difficult to tell which one it is. But there are some that create more odours than others. There's just a little bit of, and I'll go into that shortly. I'm just going to try and mop up a little bit of this just wet pus on the bottom of the ear canal. I didn't find it too uncomfortable when I pulled it out, but his ear canal is obviously quite annoyed and quite tender, and you just see a little raised area. I think he just had a little cough then, which is why I didn't persist too long in here. You know, the main job's done. What he really needs is an antibiotic treatment to get in this. But I'm just exploring this now. This could be caused by a couple of things. This could be actually where the plug was digging in to that area there, or it could be a little bit of granulation tissue which has formed in response. Now, I had a little go to see if anything came away. I suspect as I suspect it's granulation tissue and that comes off, I think we might be in for a world of bleeding after that. So I decided against going any further with that. Plus, he felt it was a little tender as well. And there is a bit of pus deep down there as well, which, again, I'm not entertaining going down and getting, because it will be back within a matter of hours or days, to be honest with you. And look at that pus collected inside that ear pod. He does remember, because I said, when I got it out, he said, "Oh, so I was been wondering where that went." So he does remember putting an ear pod in his ear and then pulling it out and thinking, was there an ear pod? Was there? Where's the end of that gone? I don't know where it's gone. And there a still image of it is. Yeah, glad it was out. So obviously I've written to the patient's GP and asked him to get some antibiotic spray, which also has a steroid in it. and some acetic acid. It's known as Otomize over here in the UK, and hopefully that will calm everything down in there. And this infection, really quick, nasty little, more of a formed plug of pus and skin, that. And as soon as that came out, instant relief. It was instant relief for the chap. And then the last one that you're going to see after this is a lady who I've seen before, and it's more of a chronic issue that she keeps getting. So I have asked the doctor to take a swab of it because it was it's more chronic in nature, the last one. I'm going to try and peel a little bit there, but I think it's so thin. And it's wet and soggy because he's had a load of treatment already in this. He's had a load of antibiotic spray already in it. So that's kind of why it's a bit white and soggy and a bit messy. So he needs to carry on with that, and hopefully it'll clear up and dry up. And here's the last one. It's one of the most difficult out of all of them, to be honest, because this pus and discharge, it's deep down there on the eardrum. And difficult to remove. She got really small ear as well because it's always so swollen because of the infection. So yeah, what I was going to tell you about the infection, some smell more than others. I did have to write this down because, believe it or not, you can't remember everything off the top of your head. So I have written a couple of notes down, and why I thought that first one had an odour more than you would ordinarily expect. And that's because when the bacteria breaks down tissue, it releases these what they call volatile organic compounds. And that can often release a putrid smell with those when those compounds break that tissue down. You get a mixture of, you get this dead skin, necrotic tissue. Generally, when skin is necrosed and dying, it can kind of smell anyway. But reason why I think that one was probably worse, but because there are some bacteria called anaerobic bacteria, and those can thrive without oxygen. And because he's had that earplug trapped in his ear, it's probably been deprived of a bit of oxygen, and so therefore that particular bacteria releases this putrid, foul smell that you don't generally tend to get because of this oxygen starvation. But hoping for a good outcome. I'm going to see the chap again just to make sure everything looks okay after the treatment. But I have asked this ear now, I have asked the patient's GP to do a swab because, like I said, I have seen it before and it looks almost identical. So obviously the treatment hasn't worked that well. It was about 6 months ago, I think, that I saw her. So it's not come back suddenly, but she's very prone to it. And the difficult thing here is not just getting into this ear, it's where it all ends up, which is on the eardrum. So you're not going to see a spotless ear after this. We got the majority of it out, and she could hear again properly. That's the main thing. There are. I used to deal with wounds quite a lot. Part of my old job when I was a district nurse, we did a lot of leg ulcers, pressure ulcers. Those can be particularly unpleasant to smell as well. And Pseudomonas in particular has quite a distinctive kind of fruity smell, and not fruity in a nice way. And you have to be careful to make sure ear infections aren't Pseudomonas aeruginosa, because that can turn really nasty if it's not spotted, because that particular infection doesn't respond terribly well to antibiotics. And if it's not responding very well to the antibiotics, that particular infection can turn to malignant otitis externa, which the infection can spread to your head, your skull base, and that's not good. Can be fatal. So any infection that is particularly nasty, and a discharge not responding well to any conventional treatment, that's when you should always refer to the patient's doctor and ask for a swab. So hopefully, certainly this one is going to get one. I have suggested the first chap gets one as well, written to their GP. Before I forget, I have got a subscriber of the day. Who is it today? It's Sassy Divarisa. No, how do you say it? Sassy Divarisa. So thank you very much, Sassy Divarissa. You sound like fun. I call my daughter a diva as well, Eva the Diva. So are you a sassy diva too? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, you're subscriber of the day, and if you want to be subscriber of the day, all you got to do is just leave me a comment that says I want to be the subscriber of the day, or pick me, something like that. But you've got to make sure you're subscribed. Otherwise, you're not going to be picked for subscriber of the day. So as you can see, trying to mop up tiny little bits off the eardrum, and it's difficult, and it's also a bit dangerous. So you don't want to get as much as you can get safely, and you've got to be always checking in on the patient just to make sure they're okay, and can they feel anything. So whenever anyone's got an infection on their eardrum, you're very rarely going to see a spotless eardrum after it. The more important thing is that we're preparing it for the treatment. So when the antibiotic spray gets in there, it's got more fresh area to work with. It's not just sitting on a layer of pus or dead skin. It won't work very well then. So I'm going to try and mop up a few little remaining bits. Almost, I think we're pretty much done now. As much as is safe to get out anyway. But for now, you take care of yourself. I'll see you later. Ta-da.